what's up, you guys? Thank you guys for watching the Modern Flow podcast. I'm so greatly appreciated about all the support and the listens and the referrals and the people that have jumped on the podcast. I just want to say thank you and appreciate you guys. And quick promotion. We got Peak Performance Academy, and if you're interested in working with me and performance coaching and life coaching, please let me know. Just book a discovery call. This is how we support the channel. This is how we support more podcasts, more guests. All this stuff takes time, and the best way you could support is hitting a like button, sharing it, commenting it, and tagging somebody on it, and just helping spread the message. This year, I'm really trying to make it 10 times the impact. So, yes, I'd love to hear from you. Book a discovery call. Refer this out to a friend of yours if you like personal development. And if this message resonates with you, I'll be greatly appreciate it. All right. Thanks, guys, and enjoy the podcast. Performance coach, hybrid athlete, and philosopher. But what is that? I just made it up. And I was like, that's who I'm going to be. So part of like podcasting and being authentic is like really identifying like what you want. And it doesn't have to be in like titles or anything, but it's something. I'm the head coach at Peak Performance Academy, the host at the Modern Flow podcast, just to, a few titles that I have, but at the end of the day, I'm just
we can give you a couple more titles. Sam, I do think the only thing with titles, and I think it's an interesting point, especially because the younger generation, and we're in the younger generation, but titles can create entitlement, and titles can, and they can really, I think titles can mislead people and misguide people to what it is instead of actually, just like you've said, like staying focused and present on who you are and your identity. Like I think back to when I was in college athletics, and you look around and everyone's like an assistant director and a VP and an associate, and it's like,
yes,
it's power. That's all it is. It's falsifying power for people to get in their car in the morning and say, I'm here. Where it's like, isn't there way more power to leading by example and leading through actions and leading through persona rather than having a title?
My podcast is that this is a mission. It's a mission to elevate the collective, right? And talking with Alex has been my guy. I don't know how we got introduced by Neil, a mutual friend of ours. Neil is actually my mind neuroscience spiritual coach. He has like a weird title too, where I was like, interesting. Let me talk to him. He uses a lot of neuroscience and spirituality, so it resonated with me, and we just been in touch. And the one thing that really resonated with Alex, like he was so grateful when I had a conversation with him. I was like, I like this guy. He likes me. Like, there's this mutual synergy that's created, and it's like a connection. And one thing I remember, the first conversation, you said I was a godsend, and I was like, look, like I'm pretty good, but I don't know if I'm a godsend. But we're here like creating something here. But what I want to do is, with our community at Peak Performance Academy, I have the power of podcasting, pretty much curriculum already built out, and you're the next person in line that I want to help build your podcast as well too. And since you're a member, the lead strategist and everything, you will learn directly from me, and we'll be coaching each other and developing each other podcast and influence, because I believe that you have a very strong skill set that needs to be taught, coached, trained in the marketplace right now. So that's why
when I did first meet you, that's what struck me. I remember I was driving and rushing around, and you had a calming influence, but I didn't feel a sense of ego, and I also felt a sense of understanding, and also, quite frankly, I felt a sense of that we were very much so on the same page, because the entrepreneurial industry, people from the outside think every entrepreneur is a success, right?
Yeah.
And it's false. People look at it as like you work on your own time, you work for yourself, you work from hotels around the world, you're on social media, you do this. But like when you meet individuals like yourself and like me, is like, I don't think of entrepreneurship like that. I think of entrepreneurship as a opportunity to do life the way I want to do,
Yeah.
and not directly related to a financial gain.
Yeah.
That
I
is
mean,
important. But like, that's what I felt from you. I felt this comfort that like, this guy's on the same page as me. This guy's also chasing. This guy has also gone through challenges and struggles and emotional changes throughout his life, where he's getting to a point where he's like,
fuck
I'm
it.
like, how is this person like this? There's so much relation, and I've never met you,
Yeah.
never ever met you in person, and that is just so powerful. That can be like this, and obviously a few months later, here we are,
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to pass that on to different people and
Yeah.
grow in many other ways.
I love it. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that, man. I think
Mm.
that's something like I had to like learn to accept, is that there was a big part of like ego that was driving me, and then after going through a lot of hard stuff, the ego started to die, and I had to really do a lot of introspective work to start create more impact with people. And when that started dying, and like you said, I love that message, what you just said about like, it's not about the money, it's about the life that you're creating for yourself and who you become. I think who you become in the process is super important too. That is actually what
Oh,
drives me, you know.
yeah, yeah. You're honestly so right, and it's like on an honest standpoint. Like my ego, I have always had a big ego, right? Just to
Yeah.
say that out loud makes me feel sick. But playing in sports, and I was a goalkeeper, and I was always a very high level athlete in whichever sport I really played. That to me, it was like my ego was big. This year, firstly, being in my own business, being married, and now having a baby,
Hmm.
my ego has been dissipated. There is no
Yeah.
need for any ego because my purpose has completely changed,
Yes.
as you understand. So like when you can wake up every day and you put your ego to the side and you're a bricklayer, that's what we are now. We are
Yeah.
literally bricklayers every single day. And as much as you don't want to think about that, you think a bricklayer outside in the pouring rain has an ego, or is he just working for his family?
Yeah.
It's the same process, you know?
Yeah. I love it, man. I think this is a powerful conversation that we're having so
I
early,
know,
beginning of the
and I
week.
didn't know where it was going to go. It's 9:12 on a Tuesday morning. Like,
I'm always ready. I think one of my mentors always said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So,
that's right.
all
That's
right. So
right.
let me tell you a little bit about the power of podcasting and
Yeah,
the story, like
please.
storytelling and everything. And we pretty much, I said, we were going to actually originally meet on Zoom. And I was like, Alex said he was ready to start podcasting. I was like, are you ready? Okay. Anybody that jumps on, like literally, if you look at all my podcasts, I have like 70 of them. I think I have probably like 45, 50 guests. A lot of them are their first podcast, and allowing people space to speak and ask good
This is
questions.
key.
And yeah,
This is key. Just so you know. Sorry to put you in, but I can't do this without a light cam.
yes.
Now we've got the vibe sorted.
Yeah, we're gonna work through this, and then we're gonna break it up, chop it up, and coach this and teach this. And as we're working through this, I'm helping you become develop your podcast or your creation
Mm,
that you want,
mm,
and also your identity as well too, because a lot of it you want to incorporate your own personality into it. That's what's going to make
mm,
your podcast different from anybody else. So in the beginning, and then we already chatted a little bit about this, and I could fill everybody in, is identify your passion and expertise. So this is going to be a section, right? Identify your passion and expertise. We already talked a little bit about, you have a sports background. I have a sports background as well too. And you're extremely talented in the sales
Mm.
process, like the closing.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
where, for me, I saw he's very talented, and it's a very high impact skill, especially in the marketplace of online remote coaching. Is how do you gain rapport as soon as possible and be able to close and be able to continue the sales process without losing them, right? You're strong in that. So identifying your passion and expertise. And you also mentioned a little bit about like who your niche or ideal client that you kind of wanted to market to. So I'll leave you some space to tell me, and maybe I'll take some notes too.
Yeah, of course. I think where it all kind of started for me is that sports has been my whole life. So I grew up in the UK. I now live in the US. I moved to the US when I was 18 years old back in 2014. So today I'm 29 years old. And
The Brit.
played for
Is that
the
your
Brit.
nickname, the Brit?
Well, it's not my
Your wife
nickname,
calls
but
you that, right?
it, on her, we have this online boutique, yeah, and it's the Ruby and the
I know.
Brit
I
show.
saw it. I was like, she calls you the Brit. I was like, I mean, that could be your
Yeah,
brand right there, the Brit.
yeah, yeah. Like that's its own separate thing, which is just like how has life got to this stage, right? And that's the beauty of it. But like it all did start from sport, and quite frankly, I've always been a giver, right? I've always been a giver. I've always innately, I'm quite a selfish person. I do think this. It's fair to say to people, whether we want to agree with it or not, the male itself is an extremely selfish individual, right? We are not, quite frankly, we're not bred to do anything than go hunt and go and chase and go and provide for our family and go and win. Whether or not everyone agrees with that, that's how I've felt my life come up, right? But I've also, through that and through the confidence of sport, I've also been a very empathetic person. So I've always felt like I've felt other people's emotions. And I myself have had very high anxiety my whole life. So sport has always been my release, right?
Yeah.
It's been my release. When you go and cross over, I played soccer and I played cricket in England, but when you go and cross over a white line, it's like, okay, this is my safe space. However, as time went on, I stayed in college and I went and played college soccer in the US. Amazing experience, went and got my degrees. And then this is, we'll cut, right, Sam? We'll cut anything that we don't want to cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened was I came over to the US on an F1 visa, which people don't know is a student visa. And you can't earn income on a student visa.
Uh-huh.
It's illegal, right?
Okay.
So for 9 years, I had to be very creative. I had to be very patient. I had to be very understanding of where my situation was.
Mm.
And always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit since I came to the US. It's very common in the US where internationals will come over, they start private soccer training. So I got a sense early of selling. I was
Yeah.
selling my service as a 19-year-old to a parent to coach their 8-year-old child.
Okay.
$50 an hour in cash,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's like $50 in cash then was like, holy cow. Like
Ah.
this is
Yeah.
this
This is
is
good.
it.
This is
This
good.
is it, you know? And then it just kind of took off. And I actually did private training in the US for about 6 years. It's 6 years and it saved me. But I kind of fell out of love of the game because my purpose was changing, right? I was going through when I was at UCF in Orlando, which was just a phenomenal experience. You're around like elite people in college athletics. So I learned skill sets which I could never imagine of high level communication, high level problem solving, and making decision quick.
Yeah.
One of my mentors at the time, who was actually he's a vice president at UCF, and he's he's a VP of director of athletics. The ability to intake an information and then not make an emotional decision stood out to me more than anything from this person. I would go to him with a question. He would say, I will handle it, but don't expect a decision immediately. Let me go and handle it. And that really resonated to me from a high level person, because finding information to make a decision,
Instead of
me,
react.
quite frankly, like,
Yeah.
and maybe you feel the same, you make quick decisions because we feel impulsive. But actually, I've learned from other people that decisions don't have to be quick. That right there is related tremendously to me to sales. So that's what I think makes me special more than anything in sales, because not to give the source too much, right? But when you get on a call with someone, I have learned that this is not a sales call. This is not an opportunity to make a sale. This is not an opportunity to make a commission. This is an opportunity to learn about another individual, find out their problem, and see if I have a solution.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It is.
It's that simple.
Yeah, you've heard. You definitely got. You got the heart. I can tell you. That's why.
Yeah.
You definitely got the heart. You got the story and everything behind it and everything, and very thoughtful, right? So part of like podcasting is being really true to who you are and allowing other people to pour their story, tell your story in a safe space as well too, because it's just like natural, like law of the universe that you want people to be attracted to your message. And if your message is connected to something good, right? Everybody goes through life-changing events, difficulties, challenges, and those stories. I love it. I love hearing those stories. That's why I have a podcast, right? So it's something that it's my passion and I would say it's my expertise as well too. So this exercise is basically identifying your passion, your expertise, and then building a story around it. Mine was about personal development, where I had a big breakthrough after my divorce and my separation, after going through a lot of mental health issues. And that led me to launch this podcast, launch this community, go on a personal journey. Entrepreneurship's a personal journey, and you create this mission, and all it is, it's about alignment, right? Is if your message is in alignment with making this place better and serving, right, with a mission, right? I think having a mission is super important to being disciplined enough to continue to do it and continue to make it better. So that for me, it's like about personal philosophy. But another example from other successful podcasters is I follow this guy named Lewis Howes. He is very big into personal development, and he's, I think, at 900 or like 1,000 episodes on podcasts. But now other people are asking him to be on his podcast. So it's just a natural, and he brought on his mentors. That's it. He brought on all his mentors that he worked with, coaches, and just like I'm pretty much like kind of doing the same thing what he's doing, but also with my style. Sometimes I get into topics like Joe Rogan, where I talk about spirituality, and it gets kind of like woo and esoteric. So, but that kind of stuff that I like. And the next exercise would be, so I'm gonna clearly say it so I could cut it and edit it and organize it so people could watch it in like increments, because people's attention span not so long. So I try to make the recordings about 10 to 15 minutes. But so defining your target audience, right? Teach participants how to define and understand the demographic and psychographic profiles of their potential listeners. This is good. This is helping you kind of like work through that ideal clientele that you want.
Yeah. It is, and it's a really unique question. And as I think about that, there's not a specific individual that really sticks out to me, but it's probably a specific frame of mind. And I do, I think there's two pieces, and it's individuals that I don't want to say the word lost, right? Because it's not lost. Lost is a really, really, really deep word. And I think there's a lot of relation to it. And I'm not saying it's not the right word, but it's a heavy word. And to give you an idea, like for me to go into this and start my own journey, I did feel a little bit of lost, right? And there's so many athletes out there who graduate and they are so competitive and they are so driven and they are so inspired to do great things in their life that athletics isn't their vehicle anymore. It's just not their vehicle anymore. It's 2% of athletes are going to go make it, right? That's it. 2% are going to make it. I grew up playing with elite athletes. Some of them are now still playing in the Premier League, playing in the World Cup at England. But that's like one person out of so many. So all those other individuals, there's still a pathway, and some want to go into corporate industries. Some want to go and build into their families' businesses, but some want to go out on their own. And going out on your own is a scary place, but you can translate your skills from athletics into so many pathways. The skill I transferred was my ability to communicate and relate to humans on a really, really, really emotional level because they have a need and they have a problem that they're trying to solve. That's why I'm in sales. I love that. Not every athlete needs to go down there, but the athletic skills translate to sales more than you can imagine.
Yes.
And sales is a place where people think sales is like getting in the car, knocking on doors, getting in the car, going to meetings, or large engineering sales or chemical sales, whatever it may be, or medical sales. Sales sales doesn't need to get put in that box.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't need to get put in that box. Like you tell me that you don't feel like you're good at closing, but you have the innate ability to communicate. You don't need to close.
Yeah.
You close yourself, right? The individual in front of you is saying yes to you. So quite frankly, like the psychology behind being an athlete and translating that to sales, if you can calm the emotion of being an athlete and winning and know that a sales call is different to playing sport. When you play sport, you want to win the game by the end of the game. You get one opportunity, you get 90 minutes in soccer to win that game.
Yeah.
In a sales call, you don't have to win it after the first call. You don't. And that's a mindset shift because that's actually really hard as an athlete. It's been my biggest learning curve. And I'm going to tell you, it is still my biggest learning curve. One of the biggest things that we can do as athletes, we have happy ears. We have happy ears. We get on, we feel energy, and we're like, shit, we're winning. Great. Yes, I'm winning. That's a negative in sales because people like on the other end don't want to feel that.
Yeah.
So if you can translate that calmness and that persona of that growth rather than that winning, the winning will come.
Yeah.
The winning will come.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good analogy. Let me see. Like, okay, so you had a lot of things about sports, which I love. I love sports analogies. I think your target audience, I remember you're defining your target audience is former athletes. And what story resonated from what you said that I've heard is Michael Phelps. Like Michael Phelps, the greatest Olympian in all of history. And he was dealing with depression when he had no more swimming, no more Olympics and everything. And he went and he's very open actually about it. I've heard him on interviews and talking about his depression and things that he's gone through. But there's got to be a new life, a new change, right? And like how you said, like only 2% of the people make it to the elite that really get paid. I know. I've been bodybuilding for 24 years. I'm still not a professional. And if you become a professional in bodybuilding, you get paid like $1,000 to win like a show, which is nothing, right? It's not a salary. You do it out of genuine love for it when you have those hobbies in sports. So
right, that dollar amount doesn't drive you.
Yeah, the dollar amount doesn't drive.
It's the doing. It's the actual doing that drives you.
Yeah, and what I really like what you said too is like in sports, it's like this person wins, this person loses. But what I like is in business, in podcasting, is this thing. It's win, 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 right? This is a triple win. When you can get a triple win, you create a lot of value in whatever you're doing, no matter, even if you're not getting paid directly for a podcast, because when you get paid for a podcast, it has to have a lot of viewership. You put some ad money into it and everything. So like Joe Rogan, he's making money off of his podcast. But the thing is, when you first start off, I didn't start a podcast to make money. I started a podcast to create impact, right? To get people attention about personal development, life coaching, sales training, coaching, and, you know, to really add value. So my thing is win, 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 right? In this podcast, I'm winning because I'm coaching you. My skills are sharpening. You're winning because you're learning from me. And then whoever is listening to this podcast and absorbing this or this training module is going to get the same value, right? So there's a triple win here. And for me, what I was struggling with, and I want to share this to you, might help you because you shared some of the stuff that you're struggling with is I was always similar mindset is like I win, you lose, but that's not the mindset. It's a win-win-win. But also too, I also want to sell something that has value, enough value for the price. because money is such a big thing. It's like, I wouldn't feel comfortable myself to ask somebody for a certain dollar amount, but if I didn't believe it was worth that money. So I had to pump a lot of value into like my offer and my coaching community and communities and everything. So that was something I was working on myself. But yeah.
That's powerful though for you, because that's your ego going to the side. Because we can all sit here, you're lying in bed and you have the amazing, brightest idea, right? That might only translate to your mind and so forth. So like your ego has to go to the side. Like, my ideas aren't perfect, and I think this is the beauty of podcasting, but this is the beauty of this type of relationship and conversation, because you look at someone like Michael Phelps, who is the most decorated Olympian on the planet, and then you hear his struggles. Now, do we think Michael Phelps is perfect? Or do we think Michael Phelps knew exactly how to handle his life? But I can tell you right now, guarantee you this, that Michael Phelps has probably sat on his kitchen floor and cried. I can tell you he's probably cried in his wife's arms, and his kids have seen him cry. That there is the purest form of emotion. Yet this person is the most decorated Olympian on the planet. Me and you have no idea how to get to that stage in life. That is a totally different ability to handle losses, handle wins, handle media, handle praise and in fame, handle money, handle family, handle everything else. Yet then the vulnerability to say that depression has been something, and to say that they've dealt with issues over time, it's like that alone tells every single person on the planet that they are also capable. That's what it does, quite frankly.
And we have to humanize athletes, and as you like, what it does, it makes Michael Phelps, where you like, this is this elite person that has a different mindset than everybody. But as you understand, like in Buddhism, like we all go through the same suffering, same emotional pains. He's gone through that, right? And that story is what's brought him, I'm sure that has brought him, pulled him out of that deep depression. And my story helps me as well too. And we don't get too dark into it, but that's part of podcasting, is you can get vulnerable and honest. You could get that with other people. And when you do that part, you could really develop a good story behind it.
I think that people will learn from us that I'm really open and comfortable being honest and vulnerable. It's like, it's my story. What's worst thing to come from it? If there's any judgment, it's okay. People will learn. Like I will say this, just as I go back to the relation, there's someone in my world who he's younger. He's about 19 years old. He's been a phenomenal athlete in high school, played sports, always been the top. Good-looking guy, got everything going for him. His college career is now over. This shift of his personality and his belief is kind of scary, not from a point of what I view of him, but from a point of, this is the power that he can have. And I look at individuals like this and I say, they've got all the skill sets they need, but they have lost something in their life. Sport has been everything to them. Sport has been their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's been everything that's got them out of bed every day. Now what? Now what? And that's the power of this, is that there are so many athletes that are probably, it's 9:30, Tuesday, December the 7th, they're probably lying in bed right now. They've finished their college career and they're lying in bed thinking, I've been used to getting up every day at 6:00.
They had like
now what's my purpose?
They had like a reason for getting up.
They had a reason. They had a reason. The reason was to get better at baseball or soccer or football, whatever it is. But now it's not. And that is literally, whether people want to be in sales or not, and people will learn more around the idea of sales, but that can change everything for you. And it's a scary process to go into that, because you're building a career and you're building a professional career which doesn't relate to athletics. But if you allow yourself to understand the technicality of it,
Mm-hmm.
you will just feel like an athlete again. You'll
Yeah.
feel like an athlete again.
Let's leeway into this, the
Yeah,
unique
yeah,
value proposition that you're developing, and I could help you and give you some feedback, and because
yeah.
we're brainstorming here, is the unique value proposition that you bring is coaching in a aspect of helping them find more purpose and reasoning
Mm,
behind what they've done, and you could
mm.
translate their discipline to entrepreneurship, starting a business, or starting their new life. It doesn't have to be starting a business, but what is your unique value proposition? So yeah, this is to help you set you apart from others in the same niche. I mean, it's a pretty unique niche, right? If you're going
Mm,
toward like former athletes,
mm.
there's a ton of athletes that are retired.
There is, yeah, yeah, there is, and all ages. Like I'm 29. There's going to be an ex-athlete who's in their 50s that watch this, and I think like my honest, unique value of what I bring to this is having an understanding that being an athlete is an amazing part of your story, and it is an amazing piece of the puzzle. But being an athlete translates to anything that you will do in life.
Yeah.
And my honest power is I have been in the shoes of an athlete when it's all over.
Okay.
And it's all over.
Yeah.
And having an understanding how to get back up there and go into a different pathway in life and go into entrepreneurship and take those skill sets with you, that is what I am so good at. It's
Okay.
what I believe in because it's a scary thought process.
What do you
It
mean
is.
it's scary? You haven't done it before? Or is this something
Well,
that's been brewing in your head?
I think the scariness to it, Sam, is that you've been used to something and now you're doing something totally different and you don't know how that's going to relate to your life.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of imposter syndrome, quite frankly. There's a bit of anxiety around what other
Yeah.
people will think of you. And there's all these negative emotions that tell you, no, 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 I've got to go be a coach, like a sport coach. Like that's my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Played
Yeah.
sport all my life. Now let me go give it to someone else. Let me
Yeah.
go give it to the next generation. That's great. That's your power and that's what you want to do. But there's a process where, man, this world's like a big old place. The opportunities are endless. You can create an opportunity like that.
Yeah.
And having the confidence to take your skill set from sports into your next level of career is the key. It's the
Yeah.
key, and that's what I help you do. That's
Yeah.
where I help you transition, and it's a constant pursuit for me. I play golf, right?
Yeah.
So I went on from football was my whole life, English football. Now I play a lot of golf, and golf feels very similar to me in the journey of
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. I relate golf tremendously.
I actually use somebody explain golf and sales almost the same way of
Ah,
how
ah,
nuanced it is. But yeah, your sports analogies, I think it's great. Because when
mm,
I've done sales and worked on sales teams, we use a lot of like sales analogies, like uh, on par or below par. When you're meeting margins or selling margins and everything.
yeah,
So combining that is where that unique value proposition is, where
mm,
you're creating something, and like you said, there's 2% people that make it that don't need this to transition. They become a professional and can retire, right? That's like 2%
yeah,
of the
yeah,
people. You
yeah,
got 98% of the people that are athletes, right? That's a good niche and also a big niche, but you also
mm,
could continue to refine down as well too. But like I said, like I'm niching down as well too, but the niche just starts somewhere too, and developing a unique value proposition in the beginning is going to come from your experience and your personal
correct.
experience of playing sports, understanding the difference and finding purpose from after sports, right? Telling your story, that's a unique value proposition itself, your own experience, and then helping other people tell their story, that creates value as well too,
Mm,
which is
mm, mm,
super. I mean, I think the idea is fantastic. It's athletes, caters and supports the community that you're building. And if you're already thinking of what you want to envision and thinking about it now, that makes it easier. But as it goes, you're developing the audience. So I have two more training modules, and we have plenty of time. So the next thing we're gonna do is aligning voice with your audience. Speaking style, content, and presentation to appeal to your target audience. Your target audience, we kind of been working through this already, but just aligning your voice, with it.
I think when people, you'll understand this and others will understand this. Like when you really get to know someone like me who's had listen, I've had a really, really blessed upbringing, right? I've had a really blessed upbringing. My parents both worked in public services. One was a policeman, my dad was a police officer, my mum was still in the NHS. So I've seen hard work. Like I've really seen hard work. And I think what I've also seen a lot of integrity in the workplace because of that. And, where I really, really take my journey is I take everything that I've learned from my upbringing. I take everything that I've learned from my professional career so far, but also everything that I take, I don't necessarily agree that this is the way that you have to be or the way you should be, because I'm probably too vulnerable at times with individuals and I ask too many questions and I share too much of my thoughts. I think there's a fine line. And I'm not saying that like if you were to speak to Neo today, Neo would say he knows everything about Alex's life.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there's a fine line, but my voice shares because there's people who are going to watch this who probably really resonate with me. They've had great upbringings. They've played sports. They've never gone without, but they have no fucking clue what's next. They have no clue what's next. And that as an athlete is the hardest pain you can feel because all you have had is structure. That's all you've ever had. You've had structure. You go to practice, you eat good, you work out, you get showered, and you go to bed. You don't drink alcohol. You are so focused. When you leave sport, life opens up completely different. You see different things going on. You see different people living different social lives. You see different people doing different businesses, and you get so confused. I got so confused when I left sports. So confused. I was like, what's my purpose? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? How am I going to make income? How am I going to provide? How am I going to feed myself? Whatever it may be, I'm here to tell people that is totally, totally, totally normal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here to tell people.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell people that it is so frigging normal. As much as you don't feel it's normal, I still feel it this day. I'm like, I wish this wasn't going on. I wish I wasn't going through so much change. I wish I hadn't figured out. And then my mind is like, what a blessing. What a blessing that I now have this new venture in life. I now have this new opportunity to learn a new skill set. Sports to me was 25 years of my life, 27 years of my life. That's the first quarter of my life when it's all said and done. The skill set that I have taken from the first 27 years of my life to now go into this. If we have a call when we're both 50 years old, I have no idea what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of this.
That is the beauty.
That is it. And any athlete that's listening is please, please, please know that the feeling that you may be experiencing is normal. But those feelings are also so much fuel sitting inside of you waiting to explode. We just need to find the right vehicle for you to go and do that.
That's fantastic. That guys, if you guys are listening to this podcast, if you're listening to this training, that is aligning your voice with your audience. And it's very powerful who you're actually like speaking to. And the biggest hurdle that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with is finding like who they're talking to. Or who do you talk to the most? You talk to yourself the most, right? If anybody that's
way too much.
an athlete, you've been in the dumps, you've won games, you've lost
Mm,
games, right?
mm,
Aligning with the voice is when you become like your mission, your purpose. My aligning with my voice and my audience was, you know what, we're gonna figure it out, because this podcast was called FIFO, figure the fuck out, and then I changed it to
mm,
Flow and Flow Out,
mm,
and then I continue to refine it. Now it's called the Modern Flow Podcast, and simplified the mission to elevate the collective, as in
mm,
everyone, right? Any coaches,
mm,
entrepreneurs mainly. That's where I'm speaking specifically to, because for me, entrepreneurship is such a personal development journey, right?
oh,
Because you gotta talk to yourself every day. You gotta get your mindset correct. Uh, if you ate something bad or you had too much to drink the other night, you might be foggy. You might like, there's a lot of to it. And when we talk about like athletes and stuff, there is so much preparation behind it that you could continue to share, continue to
mm,
develop the story, even as you're developing as well too, and finding the audience. And my biggest like takeaway, if anybody's listening to this, is talk to like the 5 year younger version
mm,
of yourself
mm,
that had to go through the fire, that had to go through the dark times, the times where you were lost, the times where you didn't know when your next paycheck was going to come, and all that. When you get into that, that's when you start to develop a story. That's when you start to become more resilient as a person,
mm,
as an
mm,
entrepreneur as well too,
mm,
because your purpose, your mission becomes more important than what you are doing, and then you're being of a service to the community members and everything. And that where I find a lot of alignment with my audience members and people that I collaborate with. So strong work, Alex.
mhm. I will actually give you some credit there as well, because you may have a different ability to relate that information. I actually think for the athlete, it's even harder. Like there's been times this year, and like where's the next paycheck coming from? Like I've, I, I've my skill set, right? I have not. There's not been one single month this year as an entrepreneur for my first ever year in business where I have not made money,
Yeah.
right? And I only say that, I'm not saying that as a bragging right, because there's plenty of entrepreneurs that don't make money in the first 5 months. I've been very blessed that the first 5 months of being an entrepreneur, I did not make money. The only reason I did not make money is because I trusted in the moment. I didn't trust, total honesty, but I knew that I was capable. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I could do it, because all of my stories in the past have kept telling me this is easy. Like, if we think this is hard, it's not hard. What's hard is well, I mean, we could get into a list of numerous things that are way harder than what we both do, but
Yeah.
it's the point of like really trusting that whatever is going to happen, that it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. And that's the hardest thing for an athlete to do, because you're used to a win or a loss. A win, great. We'll move on, play the next game and get better. A loss, shit, I hate it. No problem. We'll move on and get the next game. The same thing is in sales. The same thing is in business. I'm sure you deal with plenty of people, and it's like, win, great. Loss, okay, but what does a loss mean? Like, what is a loss? What is a no? If we take that personally, athletes don't take losses personally. You can't. You
Yeah.
don't have enough time to. So it's the same process, and that's why it translates so much, because it is the same. It's
Yeah.
just on a different vehicle. It's on a different avenue. You're not putting cleats on, right?
Yeah.
I hate that I'm using American terms. I'm so sorry. Hate it. I'm going to say boots, football boots. But yeah, that is the reality of it.
That is.
Like
That is.
you gotta believe, and we both probably, there's days, Sam, that me and you both wake up and you lack a belief, and you have to pull it out of yourself. Um, that's the hardest part of this, quite
Yeah.
frankly. Me and you aren't going to sit here and say we're perfect. If
No.
we sit here and say we're perfect, we are bullshitting and lying to everyone out there.
This is a good point. This is the last part of sort of first this part podcast recording training. They're all the same for me, right?
Yeah.
Coaching training at the same time, and it's going to be feedback and iteration, right?
Mm.
how do we take the feedback, right? The people that are going to be jumping on your podcast are going to provide you feedback. Your audience members are going to provide you feedback. And you have to actually ask actively, like, if you want to improve, is asking for feedback. Because not, and it's part of coaching too. And if you want to be a better athlete or a better entrepreneur and stuff, you want to go to your coach and say, hey, I'm working on something. If it's my podcast, or if it's this limiting belief that I have about money, if this limiting belief about my sales skills, right? It's the job of you, right? Because as a coach or whatever, a head coach, I can't read your mind. Of course, I have ways and to ask questions and to like get into it. But if you come with limiting beliefs that you know that are like hindering you from making more money or stepping outside that comfort zone, bring that. That's the feedback, that's the iteration. And a lot of people don't do that. They act passively, just do things that things are going to get better. But as an athlete, you want to get better. You actually want to go and get the feedback. You want to get the coaching, because that accelerates your process. That's one of my techniques, is to accelerate, ask, record, listen to my own podcast. But basically the last part is just feedback and iteration. Is just like, we created a framework already. This, like I said, like I've told many people, is like a podcast recording could be anything. It could be a coaching call. It could be a conversation that you just had with whoever, a student or somebody that you're coaching, a parent or something, that sometimes you just have to coach it. Coaching, I don't know, is just effective communication. And I think that's what sales is just finding a way to get your own feedback to continuously make it better, right? So you reach the intended audience members. So what things that I do to get feedback is I use social media. I have a Google form that I have people fill out when they are interested. Like sometimes I'll go in, and this is a good way too, is you could go into Facebook groups. Like if there's like athletes or somebody that you went to college with, or you have like a sports team, or like a college Facebook group, LinkedIn group, right? The Facebook group strategy is how I promote my podcast.
Yep.
So those are all the next thing. But today we've done enough work in developing a niche. A niche is super important. It's the most important thing when it comes to like marketing and outreach, because if you find the right niche, and it doesn't have to be perfect. What we did today is the starting, and you've had a good start already. So now you develop more of it and then put a theme behind it. I know you have a great sales entrepreneurship background that is strong, and marketing it towards former athletes and teaching them about the entrepreneurship and how different it is. So sometimes people look at entrepreneurship from a different lens. So it's creative to share from your own perspective now. But getting the survey, the feedback, and asking for support, a lot of people will support you in the podcasting journey, because if your message is good, and then I believe it's pretty good, Alex.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty good, man. So I think you got a bright future in that, and then just continuously to improve it.
I think Sam, just on a point on that is, and I appreciate all those things you said. I think what does make me stand out in life, and I think this is a skill set that everyone needs to have, is the ability to be coachable. If you have the ability to be coachable and put your ego to the side and be willing to learn from others, you're already a step ahead of the game, right? I spend so much time. I'm going to get off this call and I have an hour and a half coaching, literally an hour and a half coaching on sales, right? With someone that's done it for over 50 years. There's a part of any young male that's like, okay, I don't need anyone else. I don't need to learn from other people. I've got this on myself. That's our ego as a male,
That's the
right?
ego.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
That is the ego. But the reality is that being coachable, whether or not you take on what you are being taught, the ability to intake information and fathom it and then try it in your way is a step forward. It's just a total step forward. I think you'll agree with this. There is no desire for us to work with anyone who doesn't want to be coachable.
Mm-hmm.
Because being coachable is like your child is coachable. We show and we guide our child how to go to the next step in life. What's the difference? The child doesn't have an ego at 11 months old. So it's the same process. And what we're doing is we are helping and guiding our child into life. It's no different in business. Every single person, my journey restarted today. It restarted when I woke up, right? So every day my journey restarts. It kickstarts again. It kickstarts again. How can I improve today? How can I be coached today? How can I learn something new today? How can I translate a skill which I have been taught into this? Whether I like it, whether it comes out my mouth correctly, does not matter.
Yeah.
This is the part of growth. Because when you're an athlete and your strength coach told you to do a squat that you never did before, are you going to do it?
It's gonna hurt.
The answer is yes.
It's gonna hurt though.
It's going to hurt, but you're not going to turn around to the coach and say, I don't want to do this squat.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do it. You know, it's the same process. If your coach asks you to work on a specific kitchen technique, are you going to say no? Or are you going to say yes? Like, I know you're going to say yes because you are so ingrained in being an athlete. It's the same process. If you're a C-level executive, if you are a coach, if you are a artist, if you want a chef, like you think of a chef, their pursuit of getting better with their skills every day has to be top of the range, right? It's just no different. Like being coachable, man, I believe that being coachable is my number one skill set. I'm not scared of being coached. It does not hurt me.
Yeah.
It does not hurt me. It only benefits me. It benefits you. It benefits them.
It does.
You know, and even the person that coaches, when you're coaching me, I'm pretty sure you're learning through the process. But the only reason you're learning, Sam, is because you have that mindset. You have that ability to say, I'm going to learn from Alex today.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn from Sam today.
It should be both situation that you learn from. Right? If you become the coach, you're actually trying to learn that person as well too in their position or whatever they're doing. And I think we have a great start to something.
Yeah.
I will pump it out, or however we use it for marketing and for our content creation and helping build out the community. So Alex is the lead strategist at Peak Performance Academy. He's been promoted to the lead strategist. I'm the head coach. But yeah, titles don't really mean anything. More importantly is the message, the mission of giving back and continue to grow the community of online coaching. And sales is, for me, bringing Alex on and doing this podcast. And we hope to continue to bring coaching calls and podcasts and to bring more knowledge about entrepreneurship and online sales and how it's changed, and really give you the inside scoop on how to build these skill sets. And these skill sets, like they're all things that you could be built. And my story is that, like, I am a Cambodian American, and I grew up through like the school system, and I always thought I was actually dumb. I had a learning disability. Even walking around, I felt dumb until like the age of 30. Right? I always just thought that I was just like this jock meathead that was good at partying, and I was good at that. I tell people. I don't regret that life. It's what's built my network and my social skills. But then I learned how to do it without drinking too much and going, and I converted and changed that discipline in building online communities and continuing to grow myself personally, right? A good coach, a good athlete continues to learn from people above them, people in the same level, people that they're coaching and everything. So it's a continuous cycle of growth and continuation. And I hope to bring more of the setter's mindset, the closer's mindset. And I was talking to Alex, I was like, there's a lot of like sports terminology like we use when we have conversations. So, and I play a lot of sports myself. I'm not an elite level, but I definitely relate that discipline towards entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is a full contact sport.
Yeah. It certainly is.
So we'll end. I don't know if we could call this a master class or a podcast, and then
Call it whatever you want, Sam.
all
Let's
right,
call it whatever you want. We're just sharing the wisdom.
all right.